Hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 90. Unlikely Misfits compete in epic dodgeball tournament to save their gym. I am Timothy, and I am here with my good friend Thomas. Today, we're going to discuss a film called Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Dodgeball, a true underdog story, is a 2004 sports comedy film about an unlikely group of misfits who enter a Las Vegas dodgeball tournament to save their cherished local gym from being demolished by a corporate health club. Well, Tom, so did you like Dodgeball, a true underdog story?
Tim, dearest, I must say that I found Dodgeball, a true underdog story, to be quite enjoyable indeed. The cast of misfits assembled for this motley crew of dodgeballers really stole the show with their quirks aplenty. Vince Vaughn, who plays the buffoonishly charming Peter Lafleur, is a delight as he rallies his teammates to victory through sheer determination and a dash of slapstick humor. However, Timothy, I must say that I found myself somewhat disorientated by the plot twists and turns. One moment we're rooting for our underdogs to triumph over corporate greed, and suddenly there's talk of time travel and a secret society of dodgeball masters. While these elements certainly added an unexpected layer of intrigue to the film, I found them a bit disconcerting. So, Timothy, dearest, what did you think of the film? Did you find the plot twists as engaging as I did, or were they a bit too much for your taste?
Well, I must say that Dodgeball, a true underdog story, was quite a convoluted mess, wouldn't you agree, Tom? While Vaughn and the rest of the cast did try their best to bring some laughs, I found myself more confused than amused by the plot twists and turns. The film started off promisingly enough as we followed Peter Lafleur and his ragtag team of misfits trying to save their gym from the clutches of the evil corporate villain played by Ben Stiller. But then it just descended into chaos with the introduction of time travel secret societies and a random appearance by Lance Armstrong dressed as Robin Hood. I mean, what was the point of all that nonsense? It felt like the writers simply threw everything they could think of against the wall, hoping something would stick. And while there were occasional moments of levity overall, the film just left me feeling disorientated.
Tim, dearest, I see we are at odds again. While I do admit that Dodgeball, a true underdog story's plot, could be described as colorful at best, it was precisely this madcap chaos that kept me glued to my seat from beginning to end. The film's self-aware sense of absurdity and over-the-top antics were a welcome respite from the more somber fare often found in modern cinema. And speaking of the cast, I must commend Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller for their performances as Peter Lafleur and White Goodman, respectively. Their chemistry on screen sparks off the screen, creating a delightful odd couple dynamic that carries the film despite its plot's occasional missteps.
Well, I suppose we'll just have to agree to disagree on this one, Tom. Anyway, since we've been discussing the cast and their performances, I do have a bit of trivia for you. What was Ben Stiller's character, White Goodman, actually named before the filmmakers decided to change it?
That's a good one, Time. Before being aptly renamed to White Goodman, Ben Stiller's character was initially called Pete Dunderbank Jr. Can you believe it? Thankfully, the producers had the sense to change it at the last minute before the film went into production.
Well, I, for one, glad they changed it as well, Tom. Now let's move on to our next topic of discussion. So, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, is known for its impressive special effects and practical stunts. Can you tell me, Tim, how did the filmmakers manage to create the illusion that the characters were able to actually deflect a speeding ball using only their outstretched arms
Ah, yes, Timothy dearest. This was a feat of impressive practical effects and careful planning. The production team built several large soft-core versions of the iconic red dodgeballs used in the film, which were then fired from cannons mounted on mechanized arms operated by trained stuntmen. The actors would practice their movements and timing extensively before each take to ensure they could perfectly time their arm movements to deflect the incoming projectiles. To create the illusion of speed, slow-motion cameras were used during filming, which made the action appear even more thrilling on screen. In addition to these impressive special effects, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, also features some innovative camera techniques to enhance its comedic impact. The famous dodge-com shot, which follows a player's eyes during a dodge, was achieved by mounting a camera on the end of a long pole and having an assistant operator move it around rapidly to simulate the character's pop. This gave the audience a unique first-person perspective of the intense action on screen, adding to the film's overall comedic effect.
I must say, Tom, that these behind-the-scenes details really do add another layer of appreciation for the film's special effects and stunts. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the film's soundtrack. It was composed by composer Randy something.
Randy Newman. Yes, Timothy dearest. Randy Newman composed the memorable score for Dodgeball, a true underdog story. The film's theme song, Dodgeball Rock, became a cult classic and is still played at sporting events and gyms around the world to this day. Newman's ability to infuse the score with both humor and heartstring tugging. Emotional moments perfectly complemented the film's tone and storyline. In fact, Timothy, did you know that Randy Newman actually learned how to play several instruments specifically for this film? He taught himself how to play the accordion, xylophone, ukulele, and even tried his hand at the sousaphone. The result is a whimsical, zany soundtrack that complements the madcap antics on screen perfectly.
Well, Tom, I must admit that Randy Newman's soundtrack did add a certain something extra to Dodgeball, a true underdog story. But let's return to the topic of special effects and filming techniques. One particular scene that stands out for me is the famous Dodgeball dance sequence where the team members, led by Vince Vaughn's character, perform a synchronized dance routine to avoid the incoming balls. How did the filmmakers achieve this incredible feat of aim choreography and editing?
Ah, Timothy dearest, that scene was indeed a marvel of planning and precise timing. The Dodgeball dance sequence took months of rehearsal and countless takes to perfect it. The cast members, led by Vince Vaughn, had to learn intricate dance moves and precisely timed movements to avoid the incoming balls. A large crew was required to fire the soft-core dodgeballs at various angles and speeds while cameras captured every moment from multiple angles. The scene's editor then skillfully cut together the best takes and movements to create the seamless, almost balletic dance that we see on screen. To further enhance the illusion of smoothness and grace, slow-motion effects were also employed during post-production to make the dodgeballs appear to float through the air like delicate snowflakes. The final result is a breathtaking display of skill and coordination that showcases the incredible talents of everyone involved in the making of Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
That's quite an impressive feat, Tom. Now let's shift gears again and talk about the film's use of special effects in creating the iconic Dodgeball itself. I always wondered how they managed to make it look so realistic without actually endangering anyone on set.
Ah, Timothy dearest, the secret behind Dodgeball, a true underdog story's lifelike dodgeballs, lies in the magic of practical effects and clever use of CGI. The actual balls used in the film were made of a soft core material covered with latex to create a realistic texture. To achieve the signature red color, special paints and coatings were applied during production. The iconic white stripes were digitally added later in post-production to give the ball its trademark look. As for the impressive flight path of the dodgeballs, that was achieved by using high-speed cameras and special rigs designed to launch the dodge balls at precise angles and speeds. The camera trickery combined with skilled stuntmen made the impossible-looking scenes appear as if they were real.
I must say, Tom, these behind-the-scenes details really do make Dodgeball a true underdog story, even more of an achievement than I originally thought. It's a testament to the skill and creativity of everyone involved in its making.
Indeed, Timothy, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, is a shining example of the magic that can be created when talented individuals come together and push the limits of what's possible. Now let's shift our focus to the cast members themselves. Vince Vaughn portrayed the unlikely hero, Peter LaFleur, a man who starts off as a lazy, self-centered slacker but transforms into a driven, selfless leader willing to put his own safety on the line for the sake of his team and their beloved Jim. His chemistry with his teammates, particularly with the lovable loser played by the late great David Big Daddy Cross, adds an extra layer of relatability and humor to the film. Ben Stiller, who portrayed the ruthless corporate villain White Goodman, brought a unique mix of menacing charm and comedic flair to his role. His character's obsession with winning at all costs is both hilarious and slightly terrifying, making him an iconic antagonist in the history of sports films. The supporting cast members also deserve a special mention. They each brought their own unique personality traits and quirks to their respective roles, adding depth and texture to the film's overall narrative. From the socially awkward nerd played by Luke Wilson to the overly confident but secretly insecure playboy portrayed by the ever-dashing Stephen the Situation Coletti, every member of this motley crew contributes significantly to Dodgeball, a true underdog story's enduring appeal.
Well, said Tom, now let me ask you a question related to artistic influence. As an artist yourself, have you ever been inspired by any specific elements from Dodgeball, a true underdog story, whether it be the characters, the storyline, or even the film's unique style and tone? I'd love to hear about any lasting impact this film has had on your own work.
Timothy, dearest, that's a lovely question. As an artist myself, I must admit that Dodgeball, a true underdog story, has left behind several indelible marks on my artistic journey. Firstly, the film's irreverent blend of comedy and sports drama inspires me to push boundaries in my own work, whether it be through experimenting with unexpected plot twists or adding a dash of absurdity to otherwise serious subject matter. Secondly, the relationships between the characters, particularly the unlikely bond formed between Peter LaFleur and White Goodman, reminds me that even the most seemingly unconquerable obstacles can be overcome through teamwork and understanding. Lastly, the film's bold use of color, movement, and music has influenced my own approach to visual storytelling. The vibrant reds, whites, and blues seen throughout Dodgeball, a true underdog story, serve as a constant reminder that even the most mundane settings can be transformed into vibrant, dynamic scenes when infused with enough creativity and passion. Overall, Dodgeball, a true underdog story's unabashed embrace of absurdity and its heartfelt portrayal of redemption continue to inspire me as an artist, reminding me that the impossible is only impossible until it isn't.
Well, Tom, your thoughts on the film's artistic influence and its impact on you as an artist are truly inspiring. As for me, I must admit that despite my initial skepticism towards Dodgeball, a true underdog story, it has indeed left behind a few lasting impressions on my own work. Firstly, the film's clever use of humor and self-awareness in tackling otherwise cliched tropes like the underdog story or the redemption arc has encouraged me to take more risks in my own writing. I've also been inspired by the film's ability to weave together seemingly disparate elements such as sports comedy and even a touch of nostalgia to create something genuinely unique and memorable. Lastly, the film's unapologetic embrace of campiness and its celebration of the uncool have given me the courage to experiment more with genre bending and genre-defying storytelling in my own works. So in conclusion, while we may still disagree on the overall artistic merits of Dodgeball, a true underdog story, there's no denying its enduring influence on pop culture and perhaps more importantly, on the minds and creative pursuits of two old British gentlemen who otherwise might have spent their afternoons bickering about classical literature or the merits of your painting techniques. So, Tom, let's raise our cups of Earl Grey tea, put aside our differences, and salute this film for giving us something to talk about, argue about, and maybe even learn from along the way.
Well, said Timothy, I couldn't agree more. Even though we may have had our differences about the film's merits, it's clear that Dodgeball, a true underdog story, has left an indelible mark on both of us, as well as pop culture. It's a testament to the power of storytelling and the ability of movies to bring people together, even if they don't see eye to eye on everything.
Exactly, Tom, and I think that's what makes Tim and Tom's Film Night so special, too. We may not always agree, but we can still have a good chat about the things that matter to us, whether it be movies or life in general. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow we'll even find ourselves on the same page about another film.
I guess anything is possible. Speaking of which, Timothy, dearest, what do you think our audience thinks about today's discussion? Let's have a look at the comments section and see what they have to say.
It seems like we've struck a nerve with some viewers. We've got a mix of people who agree with us and those who don't. But overall, it looks like our audience enjoyed the lively debate and found it interesting to hear our perspectives on the film.
That's great news, Timothy. I'm glad our viewers are engaged and appreciate our discussions. It just goes to show that there's always room for different opinions and perspectives in the world of movies.
Absolutely, Tom. We should never forget that. Well, it's getting late and we have a busy week ahead of us. Let's wrap up today's episode with our usual plea to our loyal viewers. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the show, subscribe for more timely discussions, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, Tim and Tom saying goodbye.
Goodbye, and remember, keep watching films. Keep discussing them, and most importantly, keep enjoying them.